This is part 3 of a 3-part podcast.
Put Paul's brain on your plot. Do you have a hunk of land but don't know where to start? Do you have a world-changing permaculture idea and you need some feedback? Do you feel like the guy in overalls may inexplicably hold the keys to all your wildest permaculture and homesteading dreams? Well, you're probably wrong. But if you want to give it a go anyway, you can hire Paul for a consultation. He will be all yours for a whole entire hour. Schedule your Paulversation today at permies.com/consult. Permies.com/consult.
All right, let's go to the next slide. The next slide, please. Adobe or cob. And so we had a guy here once, and he hated the word cob. He was very insistent that we should use the word adobe instead. And they are a little different. Adobe generally features cob bricks. And then you take the cob bricks, and then you'll use cob between the cob bricks, and then that's adobe. But cob is basically a blob of mud. And so it's got the right ratios of sand and clay and sometimes some straw. Sometimes manure is mixed in for reasons. Manure is kind of weird. If you have manure mixed into your cob, first of all, after a couple of weeks, any odors go away. and you now have the license to say, this is my shitty house. But when the manure ages, it kind of has enzymes in it to kind of be a bit more of a glue. It'll actually be add some waterproofing and some gluiness to your cob. But okay, the important thing is that there are people who have gone to 2 days of training in how to build a home, and then they went and built a home, and it would take them months.
Yeah.
But then they've built themselves a home. So no training in building other than that 2 days.
Yeah.
And they built a home.
Cool.
So cob is really forgiving to beginners. Super forgiving. And so you can build so much stuff out of cob, and it's so easy to do. So the key is that it's for beginners, it's for advanced people. It can be shaped into beautiful things. The bottom line is that somebody who is not a builder can build their own home with cob. It's pretty much just mud, and once it dries, it's as hard as cement. Of course, you can't let it get wet, but that's why the designs tend to have a lot of overhangs.
Yeah, and the manure helps with that a lot too. If you have a lot of manure, it'll tolerate a lot more weather.
Yes. So cob is the natural builder's duct tape. We use cob we keep cob all through the winter so it doesn't freeze, and we keep it wet because much like people with duct tape fixing everything, we go and we get a bucket of cob and we'll go fix things with that. Like, oh, okay, we'll just cake it in cob and it's all fixed. So we do heaps of that.
Nice to make it up before winter so that you have it. It's not very much fun to mix cob in the freezing temperatures.
Correct. All right, next slide, please. Slip straw. Oh, we talked about this a little bit, where we used a little bit of knapweed to make a slip straw.
Yeah.
But our sauna is wholly insulated with slip straw. And the great thing is that with slip straw, so if you're going to build a straw bale house, you need very high quality straw. That is critical. But if you're going to do slip straw, you can use very low quality straw. So basically you'll take this terrible straw covered in mold and gross things, and you'll put it into clay slip, and then you'll mash it into whatever shape you want, and then it dries. And then once it dries, it has structural integrity and a high level of insulation. So it's like this is, I think, one of the most brilliant things to do with crappy straw, low-grade straw. Fire-resistant insulation. So we've got quite a few slip straw projects that we've done here, and it's all working out really, really well. Next slide, please. Stun. This is Mark Shepard's project. So he wrote the book Restoration Agriculture, and in that book he talks about something called stun, and that's where when you go to plant a bunch of baby fruit trees, that you'll give them a kind of nurturing for the first couple of years so that they can be entirely abandoned after that. And they'll get zero care. He used to call it sheer total utter neglect, but he changed it. Now he calls it strategic total utter neglect. So you want to be able to get your trees to the point that they require zero care, and then they produce a lot of food. And so, Samantha, I think earlier you were talking about 2 apple trees that you saw that were getting no care.
They're being neglected. They are.
They were pumping out food for the animals.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and they're crazy tall, too. I mean, this is obviously an old tree and an old variety. There's a lot of old homesteads around here that, you know, somebody maybe planted the tree or maybe, you know, got planted by, you know, birds or animals.
When we developed this card, we sent it over to Mark Shepard, and he made a couple suggestions for changes. So now it's, I think it's fair to say Mark Shepard approved.
Good.
Next slide, please. Starting trees from seed. So, boy, we have, not only do we have a ton of fruit trees that started from seed, but one of them has started to produce an enormous amount of fruit.
Nice.
I'm going to guess that one is 9 or 10 years old.
Huh.
This huge apple tree in the way back behind the house. I don't know. It's got to be about 35 feet tall now. But it's now producing a lot. Well, Samantha, I think you were here once and you found, like we didn't get all the apples off of it, and you spotted some more apples.
Yeah.
And then we plucked a few more apples off of it that we had missed.
Just keep taking them. That's great.
And so, but we've also had some fruit trees that were started. We've had a lot of fruit trees that started from seed or pit, and they didn't make it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I kind of feel like we could have probably done a little bit more care. And we might get better at that in the future. But we've got, 100 fruit trees that are still going strong, but have yet to produce any fruit. We had one about a year and a half ago. It produced a whole bunch of tiny apples. So they're really crab apples. And they were disgusting. And so we cut the whole tree down. It's like, do not breed with our other trees. Yeah. So we cut that down. We had another tree right next to it this year produced like 6 small apples.
Wow.
They were like close to as small as crab apples, but not quite that small. And they were rather astringent, but they were like still on the tree in late November. And we plucked them off and tried them. And I think maybe it's a variety of winter keeper where you need to harvest in January, and then it won't be as astringent. So,
yeah, I have it's kind of another old tree. It's an Asian pear, and it's like you have to wait so long because you keep trying them and they look good, but they taste awful. And then you finally, after like a lot of hard frost and everything else is gone and dead, then they're finally ripe. So I think there's some things that astringency kind of preserves it a bit, I think.
So there's a lot of misinformation out there about starting fruit trees from seed. So the number one myth I hear anytime I bring it up is only 1 in 20,000 will be edible. And the truth is that only 1 in 20,000 will be able to outcompete the existing apples in the open market today. And so, like, it'll be better than a Macintosh is what's usually quoted. And so I'm going to say that I'm going to say 4 out of 5 will be edible and delightful in every way, as is. It may not outcompete Macintosh in the open market, but it'll have other strengths. I think that the apple tree that we were talking about earlier, where you found a few more apples on it,
yeah,
that one had big fruit, and it was quite good. And the harvest from that tree was spread out over 6 weeks. So it's like that apple tree started from seed, had some fascinating attributes to it. And we had another apple tree that had giant fruit that was really sweet and delicious. But I kind of feel like only 1 out of 5 apples will be something gross and disgusting, which is the kind of apples people want for that hard apple cider, the hooch. You know?
Oh, really? Okay.
That's what they use for that, but I'm not into that, so I just cut those trees down. And I mean, you could graft onto those if you wanted to, but I'm just going to cut them down because we got so many fruit trees started from seed. Then people, go ahead.
We got a question, which I think is interesting. Is this a method you would use for specific trees or for specific types of fruit?
I would say that just the trees for the wood is better than growing a conifer.
Okay.
But for specific types of fruit, I mean, we have a lot of plum trees that are growing now, and we have we've had some peach trees that have yet to make it, and I think I want to put more love into growing peach trees.
Mm-hmm.
Apple trees are going to be the best. In fact, I wish. Oh, we've got apricot trees.
Yes,
we've got a bunch of apricot trees that started from seed. In fact, I believe you and I saw apricots on one of my trees.
Yeah.
And it was like, look, there's like a dozen apricots. And
did
then
you get
later
any?
that year, there was none. I don't know.
Oh,
where did they go?
Got them. That's too bad.
Or
Maybe
something
next
else
year.
happened. I don't know. But that tree is way bigger now.
Okay, cool.
It is so happy and huge. I'm hoping that this upcoming year it'll have a giant crop. But we've got Apricot Alley that's got like, I don't know, a dozen apricot trees growing in there.
Mm-hmm.
And apricots do extremely well around here. But I'm kind of thinking that with apricots, I mean, there's canning apricots in a variety of different ways. And then there's drying apricots. But really, apples, I think, are going to be our primary crop. And that's what I prefer the most because the apples are there's like 25 different ways to preserve apples.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and I want to lean into all those ways, which a lot of them you don't even start to even contemplate doing until you have like 5,000 pounds of apples.
Uh-huh.
And we have a really wide harvest window for apples. And so that really helps to facilitate, lots of different ways of preserving apples. Right now we have a lot of applesauce, a lot of dried apples. I don't think we made any apple butter this last year. But I do think we've got quite a few apples. I want to get to the point that we're making apple syrup and apple sugar.
That'd be so cool.
And I can't find anybody else that's doing apple sugar. I have found some people doing. In fact, we've been doing a lot of apple juice concentrate. Mm-hmm. We found a really easy way to make that ourselves, and we've been using it to can other things. So, all right, have I answered the question? I think I did.
I sort of think it's also potentially a technique to use for specific instances. If you are planting it from seed, that tree is going to be able to tolerate a harsher environment. I mean, you have to baby it, right? You have to make sure nobody eats it when it's little, and you got to take care of it. But it's going to have that deeper taproot. It's going to live longer, and it's going to be more able to live without you. So if you wanted to be building gardens where you don't need to tend them, I think it's a great situation. If you're in a real hurry and you want to go really fast, it's not the quickest way to get to fruit, right? So I think there's certain situations where you might be like, I want apples like right away. So maybe you plant starts, but at the same time plant your seeds so that you can have the trees that live a long time and don't need you.
Yeah, the taproot is a big thing. If you transplant an apple tree, you lose the taproot.
Yeah.
So if you start it from seed, you have the taproot. So you have a much stronger tree. I think one of the other things I want to address real quick is how people will basically, when you talk about starting a fruit tree from seed, they'll say it will not be true to parent. And the truth is, it will have attributes of mommy and daddy, much like how human beings do. Mm-hmm. But when they say it will not be true to parent, they mean the mother. It won't be, because so much of the apple industry is based on cloning. Right. And it's like, so yeah, starting from seed is not the same as cloning.
Same.
And so, yeah, you'll get an apple that's different. And so they say, well, it will not be true to parent. They say it as if it'll be poison and no one will be able to eat it.
Yeah, but being different is okay.
Yeah, it will not be true to parent, which is good. So what'll happen is we're going to plant like 10,000 seeds and we'll end up with, 400 trees, but they're going to like it here. The other seeds didn't make it for one reason or they did not like it here. And so we're going to end up with a whole lot of apple trees that do well in our soil, as opposed to people that will buy an apple tree that was actually grown 1,000 miles away, 2,000 miles away. And it's like that tree probably does well in a very different climate than your climate. So, all right. I think I'm ready to move on to the next slide. Landrace gardening. Joseph Lofthouse is on the staff at Permies.com. Yay! So, I want to create an invasive tomato, but of course it would be invasive on my property, which is, such a big part of what Joseph advocates for. Like, what are the varieties that you like that thrive on your property? So like if you buy seed and you plant it, it might be optimized for some place 1,500 miles away, and it is not optimized for your property. But if you were to grow like 20 different varieties and then you kept the seeds and then you just kept planting those and you repeat, eventually you get the attributes you're looking for that do really well on your property. So I like where Joseph has this most delicious mindset about this, where it's like, oh, you want to grow F1 or stuff that's like not exactly, because there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, I only do open pollination or whatever, and it's like whatever the weird story is, Joseph's like, bring it in. Let's get some of that weirdness into our genetic pool. Let's get some variety going on here. And then I will select for what I like best. Like I want to select from the plant that did amazing on my land, under my conditions. So personally, what I love about Joseph's philosophies is that someday I'll have a variety growing here that'll be a weed, and like tomatoes that will replant themselves. And it's like I have 500 pounds of tomatoes every year, and I haven't planted a seed or a transplant for 5 years. I love the idea of that. They just keep coming back and growing themselves. And I'm not irrigating them. I'm not fertilizing them. And I'm loaded to the gills with tomatoes. This is landrace gardening. Next slide. Skiddable structures. So I think it was like about, 8 or 9 years ago, we made a micro documentary about skiddable structures. And I think that there were, I'm not sure, was there 12 or 20 skiddable structures in that? And we've done so much more since then. We've got, we just do like everything on skiddable structures. And part of it is that we find that we build something on on skids, and then we change our mind on where we want it to be, and we move it. And it's like, it's easy. You hook it up to a tractor and drag it around. That's it. Now, we've had some stuff at base camp that we decided to move up to the lab, and we've had some stuff at the lab we've decided to move to base camp. Sometimes we're having an event, and it's like, oh, we need more willow feeders where the event is happening. And so we'll move our willow feeders there, the power of the skiddable structure. The Love Shack is a skiddable structure, so you can have a portable cabin to move around wherever you want it.
You can make yourself be a paddock shift animal, right? Like the humans are the most beneficial organism, right? So any place you hang out and you dump out your gray water and you have your things, life will just blossom all around you. And you can live on that spot and then drag your little house to another spot. Kind of like they used to do with the yurts in Mongolia. They let their animals graze around a beautiful meadow and they live there, and then they move on, and the next time they come back, it's better.
Willow Bank was built in front of the shop. Mm-hmm. Then it spent, I think, 6 months behind the shop. And then I built Serviceberry Terrace, and I drug it up there.
Oh my gosh.
And when I did that, I also went and snagged the shower shack, which was also down behind the shop, and I drug it up onto Serviceberry Terrace as well.
Huh. That's cool. So now you have another one behind your shop. You have what's the one called that's behind your shop now?
Right now Willow Wonka is back there.
Yeah.
But
how neat.
I think one day we're going to move Willow Wonka back to the lab. But
that's so great.
The Love Shack, where the Love Shack is right now, that's its fourth location.
Wow.
And we just haven't bothered moving it since then. Mm-hmm. But who knows? Maybe someday we will. That'll be kind of neat. Cool. Or maybe we'll just leave it where it is. Go something else. But I like the idea of having an event here to build some more skiddable structures. Like I think building some more porta cabins would be good. And to move them around wherever we need them. Anyway, so
you can get some BBs for building a skiddable structure.
That's true.
You can have a BB event, a skip event to do that. That'd be fun.
All right. And here on this card is a list of all the different things that we've got here that is a skiddable structure. All right. Next slide, please. This is Mike Hossel's wavy deer fence. I think this is a terrific idea. Yeah, it does have some limitations. One of them being is that it is amazingly good on flat land. So if your land kind of goes up and down, I don't think the wavy deer fence does very well on that. But the big thing is that you put this wave in it, and then you can, in this picture, it's difficult to see, but there's wires on the outside side and on the left side and the right side of the fence that are attached to the outermost points. And then there's like stuff attached to those wires that are kind of dangling. So that way, when a deer comes up, a deer doesn't have binocular vision. The deer's eyes are kind of on the side of the head. And so when they look at this, they get all wiggy about like, I don't think I can jump over this.
Yeah.
And so it's two-way. So basically, Mike has reported that he has had great results with the wavy deer fence design. And notice how the fence part is not galvanized. It's rusting, which is what's encouraged. And so galvanization has a bunch of toxic gick in it. So it's like he's dodging all that toxic gick. But it's something that will keep the deer out of your gardens quite effectively because of the design of it. And it's cheap and super fast to build. I mean, look at how few fence posts there are in that. So most of it is just the wave and the lines, the two wires that kind of hold the wave in place.
Hey, this is T. Blankenship. Have you seen the new video of Wheaton Labs? It is permaculture awesomeness with all new and improved things like more rocket mass heaters, easy bake coffin, Willy Wonka, rocket cooktop 2.0, and the truly passive greenhouse. To see more, go to permies.com/tour. Again, that is permies.com/tour.
Next slide, please. Haybox cooker. Did you ever use this here? I use
it all the time. Oh yeah. Anytime I'm cooking for lots of people, I use it because it really saves space in the kitchen, right? Like all you have to do is get your pot of food up to a boil and run it outside and put it in the cooker. And, then it's cooked. And if you forget about it or you get too busy, it doesn't care. It just sits there. And then by the time you get back to it, it's nice and warm and ready to go for the next meal. It's amazing. I never did use, you have a huge one somewhere else, and I never got to use that, but I used the one that's on your back porch. It's really handy. I wish I had one here, actually. I'd like to make one.
I think the big caveat with it is that it's only good if you do a big pot of something. And if you do a little pot of something, it doesn't work. It has to be a big pot. And so then you get a big pot boiling, and then you put it in there, and there's all this insulation all around it. And you'll come back 10 hours later, and you may have put it in, and it was like over 200 degrees. And when you come and pull it out, it's probably about 180. I think we've measured this before. And it was 180 after 10 hours.
Somebody in the chat says they use their haybox cooker every day.
I believe it.
That is so cool.
I think it's smart to use it in the summertime because you then have a lot less heat inside the house.
Yeah.
This thing is just brilliant, and it's so simple. It uses zero energy, and basically whatever you're cooking, it'll cook, 10, 12, 14, 16 hours if you want. But I think usually we're doing it for 10. Like you'll start it in the morning at like 6 a.m. and then you'll pull it out at 4 in the afternoon.
And if you need more, you can always just bring it back on the oven and cook it up some more and then put it back in the cooker. But it stays hot for so long. Like it's good and cooked. Somebody also asks, is it as good as a or is it better than a crock pot? And I would say, yeah.
Crock pot,
So
the crock pot uses about 300 watts. And so if you're off grid, 300 watts can be a lot.
Yeah. Well, the crock pot usually gets full pretty quick, and this can be a huge pot. So you're not limited by quantity.
I think if you're on the grid, a crock pot is a wonderful thing, especially during the winter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not only does it smell terrific all the time, but it does add a little bit of heat to all of the space. All right, let's go on to the next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Automatic backyard food pump. Okay, so this is my new thing that I invented about, 8 months ago. And it's like, did I really invent it? I don't know. Maybe I'm sure other people, I hope other people have been doing this for hundreds of years. But I wanted to give it a name so I could talk about it. And so the key is I want to, limit it to 3 crops. And this is for Montana. I suspect that if you're in different places, you'll want to pick 3 different crops. But I've seen a lot of people get very, very frustrated by trying to grow food for a bunch of different reasons. The number one thing I see is people freaking out, and they're like, I've seen people, experienced gardeners, telling beginning gardeners this lie. There is no way for you to grow food and have it be cheaper than buying food at the grocery store. Okay, I think that's a lie, and this proves it. So if you were to take walking onions, kale, and sunchoke and spend a half an hour planting some of those in a garden or in a garden-y like patch, that if you come back in 2 years, you'll be overwhelmed with more food than you could possibly eat. And so, to me, that's easy. And then the amount of time it takes to harvest it is less than the amount of time it would take you to go to the store and buy other food. And so I want to say that this is effectively free food. And you'll notice how free food costs less than food that costs money. Any food that costs money. And so I think that, the number of gardeners, the number of active gardeners spreading this misinformation about gardening is about 99% or more. And it's like, boy, we have a big job ahead to solve this. Now, I want to limit it to 3 crops. And the reason is that newbie gardeners, when they get a seed catalog, they want to order everything. And a lot of things need a lot more care than these 3 crops. And each item has different kinds of care that it needs, different time of year to be planted, different amount of water, different amount of space, different time to harvest, etc. So I want people in Montana, at least, to limit to these 3 crops. And the benefits of these crops are a huge harvest window. And all of these things can be eaten raw, but I would say especially the onions, you probably want to cook them. And all of these things can be harvested in the middle of winter. So I think that a lot of new gardeners get very frustrated by how they'll grow something and then it's not ripe yet, it's not ripe yet, it's not ripe yet, too late. And so the harvest window is tiny, and that is maddening, especially to people where they have a worky job. And it's like they might even notice that it's time to harvest, but they got to go to work. And so they lose the harvest. These things will wait for months to be harvested. So this is the big idea behind the automatic backyard food pump. Next slide, please.
You had a question and a comment on your backyard food pump.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm not sure exactly what. So it says, would you say that about master gardener programs? And I think I missed what you were speaking about. So maybe this person can give us some. Is this Tess? Would you say
that? So I would say master garden. We have a master gardener program that is we took video and it's available. It's at gardenmastercourse.com. So it's taught by Helen Atta, who my understanding is that she teaches a master gardener course that is like 5 times more robust than anybody else. And with what we videoed, we told her that she did not have to teach under the limitations of the formal Master Gardener program, which is by the Extension Office, which is an extension of an ag college, which is influenced strongly by ChemAg. And so the official Master Gardener program is loaded with synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, etc. And that's a big part of the required training. So we had Helen teach the same Master Gardener program that she taught for 17 years, but she used to be an intern for Masanobu Fukuoka, and she's already like pre-trained in organic and permaculture, and so like what a relief for her to be able to teach this without all those chemical restraints. And so so she loves food forests and organic gardening. All right. So when you ask a question about a Master Gardener program, that's usually a chem program, very chem focused.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to cover organic stuff too, but okay. And then I think I suspect, is it Master Gardener mentality that leads to the whole thing, the whole mentality of, I'm going to pretend that this is what the question was, of how it's cheaper to buy groceries at the grocery store than to grow your own. And I'd say, yeah, but it's even more than that. And again, I'm going to go with 99% of experienced gardeners firmly believe that it's cheaper to just buy food from the grocery store than to grow it yourself. And I think we have more than proven that it's cheaper and easier to grow food at home in a garden rather than buying it at the grocery store.
Yeah, by far. I mean, that's such a silly thing to say, that it would be cheaper to buy it than to grow it for free yourself.
Well, and I want to emphasize, these are experienced gardeners. Experienced, like with a lot of experience, with like more than 10 years of experience saying this.
Well,
and they are emphatic. And it's like, so basically whatever it is that they are doing is indeed more expensive than if they just bought it from the grocery store. So for them and the techniques that they've selected, that is indeed true. But this is the benefit of the automatic backyard food prompt. Andreas, if you can go back to that slide for a moment. This is the thing that it's been like I've talked to thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people who want to learn gardening or are gardeners, and I run into this over and over and over and over again. So it's kind of like, okay, I need to come up with a thing I can say that is contrary to what most people apparently do. So I kind of feel like if you're going to try gardening to feed yourself, instead of growing a farm or a small farm to grow food. I think that's step one. I also am a powerful advocate for polyculture. And of course, in permaculture, we do not fear weeds like most people fear weeds. We're doing a lot that's really, really different. I think another thing is look at stun compared to the way people run orchards. The orchards are generally very labor intensive, whereas stun is something where once the tree gets to be like 3 years old, then you do zero care, which is very different than the way most people do orchards, or most people who are gardeners who are trying to take care of a fruit tree. They will study what the orchardists do and try to emulate that. All right. So there was a statement and a question. I'm not sure if I covered the statement and the question or what. How am I doing? What's that?
I think you're doing very well.
Are we ready to move on to the next slide?
There's one person who wanted to say that they are growing all those three things in their backyard and it didn't take any work and they have lots of food.
I think for the experienced gardeners, the beautiful thing about the backyard food pump is that now you grow these foods and they can be your staples.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can grow other foods too. And if you happen to have to go to work for like 3 weeks in a row and you don't have time to hit that harvest window and you lost it all, oh well. Or if you forgot to irrigate it, or you went on vacation and when you came back, things sucked, these three things would still be going strong. And so now, rather than like, oh no, all of my garden died, and by garden I mean small farm, it all died because I was growing it in rows and it needed to be irrigated daily and I didn't do that, and all of that kind of stuff is all gone. And now it's like, oh, that thing happened. And when I came back, there was more food than when I left. And on top of that, I can harvest it when I'm damn good and ready, as opposed to me being a disciplined servant to the crops. So now an experienced gardener who's growing a lot of different things, all of gardening just became far more delightful. All right, let's move on to the next slide, chop and drop. What's funny is I keep seeing these gardens where people go and they pull the weeds or cut the weeds or whatever. They get all the weeds out and then they haul them over to the compost pile. Then they get into their car and they drive to the nursery and they buy mulch, which is usually loaded with persistent herbicides or other gross things you don't want, and they're trying to get rid of it because it contains somebody else's industrial waste. And they'll buy the mulch, and then they'll drive home, and then they'll haul it from their rig over to their gardens where they just recently cut out a bunch of stuff. And then they'll lay that on. And it's like, okay, let's make this whole thing about 20 times easier and free.
This may be where some of that cost comes from. If you're buying soil and buying materials.
Oh, yeah. I have a hard time watching gardening videos on YouTube because they'll have these raised bed gardens, because raised beds are the best. And they'll have these giant beds that are obviously purchased. It's some sort of galvanized steel thing that looks like a stock tank.
Yeah, that's cool right now. Stock tanks. Yeah.
But apparently, I think it doesn't have a bottom in it, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't care. And then you look at the soil that's in it, and it'll have perlite in it. You'll see a whole bunch of perlite in the soil. And it's like, did they just buy potting soil, like for potting houseplants? And a lot of them, that is exactly what they did. And it's like, if you're going to go out and spend $5,000 on potting soil, then yeah, this is going to be a very expensive garden. And so, the other thing is that, like, if you've got one of those troughs and it's got like, I don't know, let's say it's got 100 square feet of growing space in the trough. It probably doesn't, but I'm just making it up. If you have 100 square feet of growing space, but if instead you built a horticulture in that same real estate, you would have 2.5 times more growing space. And so, because you can grow down the size, and it didn't cost you anything, and it's better. In fact, I've seen people saying, look at the horticulture I made, and it's got one of those big galvanized troughs, and they put wood in as they were filling it up. And it's like, okay, I guess that's horticulture of a sort, but all right, chop and drop. We plant comfrey intentionally just so we can chop and drop it. And we cut down a whole bunch of, like, a giant comfrey plant that's 5 or 6 feet tall, and pack it like a bale over, and then lay all this material down as mulch, like 5 or 6 feet away. And so we build, so it's like, I know that we get snowberry here a lot. It grows wild everywhere, and it grows all over our horticulture. It is a nitrogen fixing. The berries are toxic, and so we don't eat it. But the thing is that when it gets to be like, 3 feet tall, then I cut it all down. And now the roots give off a whole bunch of nitrogen. And then the stuff I just cut down, I'll lay down where I want there to be mulch. And it's like, it's so easy. And then I cut it to where it's like 4 inches tall. I don't care if it dies. It won't. But when it's 4 inches tall, it'll help to hold mulch in place. And sometimes I'll put the snowberry branches right there where I just cut the snowberry. All right. Next up. Next slide, please. Brush piles. Oh, so people keep burning brush piles as a form of wildfire mitigation, which is what makes all of everything so smoky around here in January. But I like how Alan Booker says this brings your Zone 5 habitat into your Zone 1 garden. And in fact, Samantha, I traveled to Portland, Oregon,
yes,
a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, or something like that. And on the way, I think it was on the way back, I stopped at your place because you're
yes, you did. Visited me.
And then you took me to go and see this guy with the most amazing garden. However, as amazing as his all organic garden was, there were insects eating little holes in almost everything.
Yeah, and he says that he has kind of like one blight or another every year. Like last year it was spider mites, and then a few years ago it was mice were eating everything, and so he's kind of got this, but this was leaf hoppers, and they became so numerous they sucked the life out of his grape. He has a whole line of grapes and a bunch of other things. Just you can see real damage. I mean, I've seen leaf hoppers, that's no big deal, but this was in such profusion.
Now, his garden, really beautiful. Flat. Very flat. He wants flat, and he's got an aesthetic he's shooting for. And I have to say he's a brilliant genius and I'm a dumb fuck simply because like those onions were the size of a basketball.
He produces a massive amount of food with very little work, but it has taken him a long time to get to that point, and great meticulous way of doing it to make it be less work. So it took a long time, but he has this problem with the bugs.
So I tried to suggest to him something about brush piles, and he wouldn't hear of it because they would be ugly by
He gives me all his sticks. I get to load up my pickup with all his prunings and all his sticks and all his stuff and bring it home.
So I was kind of thinking that if he were to have like 7 or 8 brush piles around his giant garden, and they could be outside the fence, that they would be homes to the critters that would bring balance to the force in his garden, and he wouldn't have these waves of pestilence in his gardens that he has to deal with. So it looks like Andreas has picked something to put up on the screen. I can't quite read it. What does it say?
So brush piles reduce pests because it gives them a place to do their thing. Am I understanding that right? You just answered that question. It's a place for the predators to hang out. It's a place for nature to thrive, to bring you balance. So your lizards will hang out there.
It's a place for everybody to hang out. And so it's going to be a place for your pests as well as the predators of those pests. And so they're going to be in control more. They're always going to be there. You're always going to have pests. But they're going to be not as great because you've got a bunch of people that have showed up to the buffet for those critters. And they want to eat those.
Anytime you can turn up the volume on the nature in your environment, you'll fix a lot of problems. Like if you can make nature thrive a little more, make your soil a little more healthy, give yourself brush piles, give your place, some zone 5, bring the nature in. Those problems will go away. And you don't have to necessarily understand exactly how, but balance comes when we give it space to come in. So
when I've given this particular presentation in the past, it was 45 things, and it was supposed to be 45 things in 45 minutes. Andreas has made it very clear to me that we need to stop when we hit the 2 hours and 59 minutes point.
We're so slow. Why are we so slow?
And we are now, we're crawling up to that point. So what I want to do now is go on, let's bebop to the last couple of slides a little faster. All right. Community living, 20 people living under one roof without stabbing each other. And I think this is the biggest challenge in all of permaculture, is trying to bring 20 people together under one roof to live and to somehow turn the drama knob way down, because the existing models for community have so much drama that there's a 95% failure rate. And so I believe that my efforts with gardening gardeners is the number one solution to this stuff, and I'm trying things. Let's go to the next slide, please. Oh, this is what I was talking about earlier, farm versus gardens. When you're growing a farm, your decision-making process is completely different. And a lot of times you want it to all be flat so your tractors have access. And that's why so many people grow gardens that are flat. And it's not because they have a tractor or that a tractor will ever come and do it. It's just because that they've seen other gardens that are flat. Or they're trying to emulate the farm, which is flat. And so if you're going to grow a garden, which is to feed the people that are there, and instead of a farm, which is to feed people that are not there. And in fact, there's this concept called food deserts, where it's about there'll be farms like, for 100 miles in every direction, and there's there's no grocery store. It's a food desert, and those people are not growing their own gardens. So the mentality of a farm is for feeding people far away. And how far away depends on the farm and stuff like that and blah, blah, blah. But the choices that are made are transformed when it's a garden. Too often the gardens are sucking because people are trying to manage their garden like a farm. They're using farm decisions to grow their garden. Sunchokes are a great example. Sunchokes are difficult to sell at a grocery store. They don't have a great shelf life. And so, in fact, I tried, there's a group of young farmers at an event, and I was the keynote speaker, so I was allowed to ask them questions. And I said, what would be your 3 crops that you would try to grow to feed yourself? And they all mentioned different things. And then at the end, I turned it back to them. I said, what about sunchokes? And they all made it clear that some of them had never heard of sunchokes, but some of them had. And they said, we cannot grow sunchokes because our audience either doesn't know what they are and they don't have a good shelf life. They don't work with our system, so we will not grow sunchokes. And I kind of feel like that really kind of drives the point home. So I want to recommend that people grow gardens instead of trying to grow farms. And I kind of feel like the phrase permaculture farm could possibly be an oxymoron. Next slide, please. Ooh, the same thing, but with forest versus woodland. So a forest is where you got a forester who's living in the city managing 20,000 acres. And the focus is on maximizing lumber profit. Whereas a woodland is going to be a permaculture enthusiast living on 40 acres, building a beautiful symbiotic relationship with the land. And so I think that a permie who's in control of it is going to say conifers are stupid, but black locusts are great. And then their woodland is going to be loaded with all kinds of fruit trees and things like that. Their woodland is probably going to end up being loaded with a bunch of other food crops that happen to grow in between the trees. There's probably going to be a lot of mushroom crops. There's probably going to be a whole lot of other stuff. But sure, there'll be considerations in a woodland for lumber, but they're probably going to make their own lumber. And so, as opposed to taking it to the commodity markets. So this is the difference. So forest is a bit like a farm where you got a monocrop that you're trying to grow for maximized lumber profit, whereas a woodland is going to be diversity, and it's going to be and then the number of people per acre is better for a woodland. All right, next slide, please. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Yay.
We're at the Indish.
Go visit Wheaton Labs. It's amazing.
So I think that the Permaculture Boot Camp, I mean, it does sound like it's tough work, but I would have to say that I think we make it pretty easy for people. It's pretty light, especially the first week or two. And if you rent a cabin, you can come and join the boot camp for as much as or as little as you like. We had somebody come for 2 weeks, and they just stayed in their cabin the whole time. They didn't join the boot camp at all, which I thought they would be bored. But apparently they liked it. So, all right, fair enough. But I think the boot camp is where it's at. It's where it's like this is the life. And we're trying to build community. People can either own land or rent land, but they have to do 6 months in the boot camp before they're allowed to do those things. So,
yeah.
Anyway, we get to the last slide, And we got so many different products and stuff like that. But I don't know. Are there any other questions for the last 6 minutes? So I guess not. Time to wrap.
Do you want to talk about what it's like to be in the boot camp? If we have a minute, what do you offer, and what do people get to do?
I would say
what lifestyle is it?
It's 40 hours a week of permaculture experiences. And so building jug pole fence, building wafatis. I mean, the whole greenhouse that we saw earlier was all built by the boots.
So these would be skills that somebody could then take back to their own place. Like, instead of having to figure it out themselves, they could learn it with you.
Roundwood timber framing, gardening, our gardening techniques, which I think are very different from other gardening techniques. Our natural building techniques are different from other natural building techniques. It's about building those experiences, really. And we get a lot of people here who've never held a chainsaw, never held a drill, never held a hammer. And then within a few months, they're mastering this stuff pretty good. They're doing a pretty good job. So I'm going to end right there.
Okay.
If you like this sort of thing, come on out to the forums at permies.com, where we talk about many, many, many techniques of homesteading and permaculture all the time.
All the time.
In a world on the brink of social collapse, one website stands above the rest to fight back the zombie horde of corporate trolls. Permies.com. Take back control of your destiny and protect your loved ones from the toxic gick coming at you from all directions. Strap on your overalls and start building that bunker of abundance with the good vibes and friendly, helpful insight found at Permies.com.